rewrote the lyrics of the song that Derek just sang as kind of the basis for this lesson. And I want to read them to you again. It says, "Guide us to our perfect light. We, the souls of humanity, are seeking gifts. We traverse afar, field and fountain, moor and mountain, following inner stars. Star of wonder, star of night, star with meaning, beauty, bright, inward leading, still proceeding. Guide us to our perfect light. Born a child on human plane, wisdom I seek to love again, life forever, ceasing never, over myself to reign, guide me to my perfect light." And the end of the song is a prayer. I know I'm a human being. I know I'm seeking wisdom to love and live and deal with myself. So God, guide me to my perfect light. You know, the original song, We Three Kings, is a song written about the wise men looking for the Christ child, and it's an old, familiar part of an old, familiar story, but perhaps there's a lesson for us today. You know, in this 2021 holiday season, I think there might be a lesson there. And as I pointed out in my unifying experience, you know, light is a universal symbol. It's a symbol of faith. And as I was kind of looking for messages about light on Facebook, as the great source of all wisdom, Reverend Harry Moses Morgan, he's one of our CSL ministers, and he wrote on Facebook the other day, "Without light, the world would not exist. Behind physical light is its mental equivalent, the light of life. This is why all spiritual awakening, regardless of religious tradition, always involves light, the one true light, the light of the one. It's all about the light. Light is the presence of love, Spirit's love, God's love for itself and for itself as all creation. Each is a center of light in God and equipped to fulfill their dreams and make their contribution." Harry Moses Morgan, that's who wrote that. No relation. So our theme this month is about the journey of becoming. And this theme kind of reminds us that we're constantly seeking to somehow be better, you know, somehow looking for a way kind of to a sweeter life, you know, something just a little bit better. And this inner longing to be happier is just part of our inherent nature. You know, Ernest Holmes writes about that too. We're always being drawn to something better. We have this part of us that is always seeking higher ground, more joy, more love, more peace, more abundance, more aliveness, more light. And so given that that is our nature, we've got to begin to understand what is motivating. What is motivating the desire for something more deep within us? You know, what is causing us to seek? And are we being motivated by the highest possible motivation is the question. So sometimes it's time for something. sometimes, sometimes we're looking for change to what? To get out of pain, right? You know, we find ourselves sitting in a situation that's no longer comfortable. You know, perhaps we've outgrown our current situation and we feel stagnant, or at a more extreme level, perhaps our situation is beyond uncomfortable and we're actually in some emotional or physical pain or mental pain. And pain is a great motivator. It's a great motivator for change on our journey of becoming. Pain sometimes forces change and movement. You know, maybe you have realized you're in a painful circumstance and your journey of becoming is motivated by removing yourself from that pain. And pain will always drive you to seek something new, something better, often something inside yourself and sometimes things out in the physical world as well. And I really do pray that that's not where you are this morning. I really do. But if you are not alone. You're not alone. In our journey of becoming, the first thing we have to do is love ourselves enough to get out of pain. Brittany wrote about that in her reading. Get out of pain. And for that, I encourage you to do whatever it takes. Therapy, recovery groups, practitioner sessions, whatever it takes to help you get out of pain. But hopefully most of us aren't currently and actively in pain. Hopefully most of us are being motivated by something else, you know, to continue on this journey of becoming. The saying goes that we're either pushed by pain or pulled by inspiration. But what I have found is that sometimes it's a little bit of both, right? And I want to share a story, all right? So now that many of you have been to our home and have gotten a chance to know Terry a little bit better over the course of the year, I want to use her story to illustrate my lesson this morning. And yes, I have her permission. So, so you may or may not know that Terry grew up in rural Indiana. You can picture it. Think of any small farm town that you have ever been in, right? And many generations of her family have lived in that same county, and a few generations are living on the very land where Terry grew up and her brother is now currently living, right? And I mean rural, y'all, rural. I visited there twice, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And although there are some small towns sprinkled around, mostly it's just fields of grain and livestock wherever you look. Beautiful. But it was also a challenging place for Terry as she stepped into adulthood, right? So most of her family members are dedicated to farming. That's true, right? Like they're mostly dedicated to farming, and they're very content to live in this small town, this county, right? But Terry had something else going on within her as she was getting into adulthood, as she grew up through her high school years. First of all, she was coming to terms with her sexuality, but she was also feeling a pull into higher education, right? She started feeling restless in her surroundings in rural Indiana. You know, the lifestyle, the people, the pace of life there, right? And so she went to college to become a nurse. And an idea hit her, kind of out of the blue. I want to leave Indiana. What a radical idea, right? No one in her family had that idea. Nobody, just Terry. And once she got that light of an idea, she began to follow it. Somehow, more than 30 years ago, she picked up a nursing magazine, and it highlighted the fact that they were building hospitals, new hospitals in the Sarasota area, and more nurses were needed. Now, she had never lived anywhere other than Whitley County, Indiana, but something about Sarasota was inspiring her. And it turns out that her grandmother happened to have a friend. I asked Terry doesn't even know how this grandmother has this friend in Sarasota, but this friend would allow Terry to come live with her until she could figure something else out. So without knowing a soul in Florida, Terry picked up and moved to Sarasota sight unseen at 23, is that correct? 23. Think about that for a second. So she followed an inspiring idea inside herself to a new place, a place where she left snow behind. And what'd she find? Sunshine and beaches, right? She left her old friends and found this new, friendly, welcoming community in Sarasota. She left her educational path, and she found a career and everything else that followed. It wasn't exactly being pushed by pain, I wouldn't say. It was more like being pulled by an inspiring thought. Life for me could be better. So think about your own life. Terry's not unique. Terry's not unique. One of the gifts that Spirit has for us is divine ideas, inspiring ideas, that inner light. So when you think about your own life, there have been times when you have made changes in your life, in your circumstances, because you needed to get out of something uncomfortable, right? But there have also been times in your life where you have made changes that have been birthed by an inspiring idea. And sometimes, like in Terry's case, it was a little bit of both. You know, I'm uncomfortable here, and I know I can have a better life. So it's pushed and pulled at the same time. She was uncomfortable in the middle of a mostly uneducated, conservative, rural Indiana community, and she had this inspiring idea of Florida, and that would guide her to change. Guide us to our perfect light. You know, may we recognize our own perfect light when it starts shining. So since this is the last Sunday before Christmas, I want to tie this lesson into the traditional Christmas story. And when we look at a story metaphysically, we see all the different elements and how they relate to us as human beings. So I want to zero in on the wise men from the East. You know, they're described in a lot of different ways: magi, astrologers, astronomers, mystics, wise men from the East. Well, symbolically in the Bible, East means toward the rising sun or in the direction of source or that spiritual realm of consciousness. So these wise men came from that, came from the source. And we all have within us a wise man from the east. I didn't say wise ass, I said wise man from the east. We all have that part of us that understands things are bigger than they appear to be on the human realm. Because that part of us looks at things from this higher perspective. And those inner wise men are following a guiding light. A guiding light. A guiding light that leads us to what? To the Christ within. To the inner source of joy and light and life and love. It's in there. And our wise man knows how to get there. God's own nature expressing in us and as us is what they are being led to. And those wise men had gifts, didn't they? They brought gifts. You know the story. They brought gold and frankincense and myrrh. Myrrh. What the heck's myrrh, okay? Our wisest self understands that we've got to bring our gifts from the east wherever we go. We've got to bring our gold, which symbolizes our material possessions, which we use to work out the divine and the plan of our life. We've got to bring our stuff with us. The highest self within knows that we dedicate everything in our material world to the light and love that we are. Our wisest self knows that. And we've got to bring our frankincense. That's a symbol of prayer, a connection to the divine nature. So wherever we go, we cannot ever leave our connection to the spirit within us. It's actually impossible to disconnect ourselves, but what do? We fall asleep. We start forgetting that we've got some frankincense in our pocket. If frankincense can even go in a pocket, I'm not sure. But we've also got to bring our gift of myrrh. And myrrh is an embalming ointment, a way of honoring death. So wherever we go, we must take our myrrh. We've got to take our understanding that we are always, always going to be letting go of that which is no longer needed in order to make room for something greater in our lives to express through us. And the wise man within us knows that the law of receiving is giving, and we have our gifts to give. So if we go back to Terry's story for just a moment, in order to birth something new in her life, she had to take her gifts with her. You know, she really, truly dedicated herself and packed up all her material possessions, even her gold, to start building this new life in Florida. She had to bring her education, she had to bring her skills, her belongings, all of it with her. And she gave her frankincense too. And, you know, I asked her, she doesn't claim herself to be this outwardly spiritual person back then, but she had to have some mighty big faith to move all the way across without knowing a soul down here. She had to have faith that life would meet her in a new place and that she would be protected and cared for, and she loved herself more than she feared change. And that, my friends, is spiritual living. Loving yourself more than you fear change, right? That is spiritual strength. And she had to bring plenty of myrrh. She had to let go of her homeland. She had to let go of literally the land she grew up on and her family lives on. She had to give up her family. She had to give up everything familiar. So she was swimming in myrrh. But she gave it all, and she continued to honor it with her inner myrrh, and she received the life that she thought about when she had that idea. And we are all on a journey of becoming, and we are being led by our very own North Star. There's something within each of us that pulls us forward. The question becomes, what starlight is guiding me on my journey? If I'm going to change directions, what light am I following? So what is your star of wonder right now? Is there something you're curious about trying? Do you have an idea? You know, look around your thoughts for anything that you're saying or seeing that sparks your energy. Look for some things that you might have said to other people. Someday I want to blank. Or if I had the time, I would blank. Or before I die, I intend to blank. Maybe those are clues to an inner star of wonder that's in your life that you might want to start following. You know, the new year's right around the corner. Listen to the star of light that beckons you into the path ahead. You know, I invite you to go into the silence this week. It's solstice on Tuesday. It's the darkest day of the annual cycle of light. So pause in that dwindling light. Pause. Sit in the stillness and listen to that little small voice within you and ask, what is my light? Pray, help me, God. Help me, guide me to my perfect light. And in that quiet, consider the gifts that you have to bring forward on your journey into those lengthening days in front of us. How are you using your gold to bless the life that you appreciate right now? How are you using your frankincense to more deeply connect with the God within in your spiritual practice, to know that divine self even more? How are you using your myrrh to honor the things that must die in order to express the love of the Christ consciousness that's inside of you? What gifts do we offer as the expression of the greater yet to be as we follow this inner light, this star of wonder? You know, life is eternal. It's forever expanding, always. And we can start new in every moment. We can use this creative process that we learn around here to actually move forward and manifest that which we think most about. So give yourself a gift this season, the gift of inner knowing, of following your inner light. You know, when we decide to no longer be held back by our past, by our limiting beliefs, our old paradigms, or past patterns of being, whatever, when we decide we can let go of that and we can create space for new ideas, new opportunities, and new ways of being in the world, we will receive light. We will receive ideas. And give others a gift this season. Give them the gift of you as your brightest light self. Bring your excitement, your vitality, your joy, your hope into every situation you go into. The world needs what you have to offer. So in closing, I want to share 2 readings. In honor of this Christian holidays, I want to share a reminder from Pope Francis. It came out in 2017, and I think it's a light that we can follow. This is called A Gentle Reminder from Pope Francis, and it says, "This life will go fast. Don't fight with people. Don't criticize your body so much. Don't complain so much. Don't lose sleep over your bills. Look for the person that makes you happy. If you make a mistake, let it go and keep seeking your happiness. Never stop being a good parent. Don't worry so much about buying luxuries and comforts for your home, and don't kill yourself trying to leave an inheritance for your family. Those benefits should be earned by each person, so don't dedicate yourself to accumulating that. Enjoy, travel, enjoy your journeys, see new places, give yourself the pleasures you deserve. Allow dogs to get closer. Don't put away the fine glassware, utilize the new dinnerware. Don't save your perfect perfume, use it to go out with yourself. Wear out your favorite sports shoes, repeat your favorite clothes. So what? That's not bad. Why not now? Why not pray now instead of waiting until before you sleep? Why not call now? Why not forgive now? We wait so long for Christmas, for Friday, for reunions, for another year, for when I have money, for love to come, when everything is perfect. Look, everything perfect doesn't exist. Human beings can't accomplish this because it simply was not intended to be completed here. Here is an opportunity to learn. So take this challenge that is life and do it now. Love more, forgive more, embrace more, love more intensely, and leave the rest in God's hands. And he says amen. And finally, from our founder, Ernest Holmes, I want to read his Christmas poem because I've never done that on Christmas and I want to do that today. It's called The Christ is Born in Me. Ernest Holmes writes, I shall be like the wise men and follow the eternal star of truth. I shall be like the shepherds and hear the voice of God in every harmony. I shall be like Mary and Joseph and watch carefully over this new inner dawning of true life. I make of my mind a stable, and I welcome the Christ idea of perfect spiritual man. I give the gifts of my attention, my love, and my substance to this idea born within me. I am open to the divine this day. I let God be born into my thinking and feeling. I share this birth to a higher understanding with everyone everywhere. I revere the memory of Jesus and let his teachings be in me a light unto this world, and others seeing my good works shall find the light of truth within themselves. This is the day of Christ, the day of truth, the day of a birth into greater good. Ernest Holmes. And from my heart to yours, Merry Christmas, Happy Solstice, and may you follow your inner star of wonder, star of light, and so it is. Thank you.